Hey guys, it's Dwayne here. Okay, so I've decided to whiteboard everything for you today because I know you don't have a lot of time. And what we're going to chat about today is two main things. Number one, the biggest mistake I ever made when it came to marketing our dojo and our club. And by ours, I mean my wife, full transparency, my wife breaks them, I fix them up again. But we've become real ninjas at how we actually increase the members in our clubs, how we increase certain things. So today I decided, for the purposes of this, I know you don't have a lot of time. I know your time is valuable to you. I've decided just to whiteboard it for you. Then you don't need to sit through a boring presentation. So it's starting at number one. What was the number one biggest mistake that I made? So let's go. And say, right. Okay, mistake number one is I always used to believe that Facebook equals selling. Okay, so what do I mean by that? In other words, when I would go onto Facebook and we were advertising our dojo, and maybe you guys can resonate with this, is that we always used to put there, you know what, this club, get a free class, come join us for a free class, or your first class is free, here's the address, etc. All we were trying to do is sell memberships, get more people into our club. But what we were actually doing is we were trying to sell on Facebook. Okay, now it doesn't matter where you go, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it doesn't matter where. Understand that Facebook and all of those platforms are called social media for a reason. Okay, it's not called selling media. Yet we always made that mistake of, I'm going to try and sell on Facebook. I'm going to try and sell my club. I want my club to get out there. I want people to come join my club. And yes, we were just tackling it from the absolute wrong way. So number one, remember, Facebook does not equal selling your club. Okay, Facebook is social media. That's where you start building the relationship with a potential club or dojo member. So always remember, do not try and sell on Facebook. Standard in the industry, people love buying, but they hate being sold to, and yet we try to vomit our pages all over everyone. Okay, so number one, stop trying to sell on Facebook. So you must probably be sitting there and saying, okay, cool, Dwayne. So we stopped selling on Facebook, but what's the point then? Why are we even going onto Facebook? Okay, so now I'm going to share with you the 3 secrets that absolutely unlocked it for me. Okay, and this you can apply whether it is through paid social media, paid ads, doesn't matter, organic, doesn't matter whether you're going to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you find your client. These 3 things, these 3 key steps, these 3 secrets, whatever you want to call them, is absolutely going to explode your business. So let's look at number one. Number one, what did I need to do? I needed to implement a strategy. So what do I mean by that? The strategy, let me use a different color here. Number one, in my strategy, I needed to write down and list all the problems that I solve, okay? Because if you're in a business and you are not solving somebody's problem, you ain't gonna have a business for much longer. So you need to do the same. You need to go sit down and you need to map out, what problem do you solve? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, you know, that old saying of, you don't see the forest through the trees. That is exactly what happens here. Okay, so number one, I had to map down all the problems that I solved. So, bit of background, my wife and I, we're very passionate about women and child self-defense. We're very passionate about things like anti-bullying, anti-abduction, the list goes on. And we realized when we started noting down the various problems that we solved, we saw, but there's a long list that we can actually offer to people out there, okay? Number two, once you know the various problems that you can solve, start creating solutions to those problems. So, for example, if I can solve the problem of anti-abduction for children, I know a possible solution is a workshop offering anti-abduction for children. I don't want to dive too deep into it. It should make sense by now. Once I've got those solutions in place, I'm just checking if you can still see my screen. Then what do? I create an offer around those solutions, okay? So once I create an offer, now please understand, an offer is not a discount in price. It can be part of an offer, but it isn't necessarily. Please, if you're still out there and posting on every single page saying first class is free or first session is free, understand, you know what? Yes, you might get a hit here and there, but a broken clock is also broken, or a broken clock is right twice a day. Okay, so understand that. An offer is not get your first class free. You need to actually find something that will attract those clients of yours, those future members, those future workshop attendees. And that is where you actually need to create an offer. So, for example, if somebody signs up for my club, what would be an awesome offer? Hey, man, you know what? Your first month with us is free to see if we'll be a good fit for each other. And you know what? I'm not going to charge you anything. All you can do is pay a registration fee, and that covers the basics like your club shirt, your club mask, etc. That is actually creating an offer, but I'll dive deep into that on another time. Okay, so strategy number one, what are the problems I can solve? What are the solutions I can offer them? And what are the offers? What are the offers that I can create for those solutions? They tie into each other. Right. Step number two, once I've created this strategy in my dojo, then I go on to number two, okay? Getting the actual leads in. So what is a lead? Okay, a lead is somebody who might be interested in your dojo, but they're not a member yet. So whether you're running paid ads, whether you are doing an organic approach. So what do I mean by organic for those of you who don't know? Organic, when it comes to marketing, is anything that is not paid, okay? So leads, it could be somebody when I created an offer and I put it out there on a community group, somebody who inquired is a lead. Somebody who's showing interest in what you do is a lead, okay? So there are three things to leads. Number one, we need to know who our ideal lead is for that solution. So an anti-abduction class for children will not have the same who as a tactical Piper knife fighting training course. Two different demographics, two different people, everything is different about them. Yet, the biggest mistake I always used to make is I used to do a one-size-fits-all approach. When you try and speak to everyone, you're going to end up speaking to no one. Number two under leads, what do you need to know is what will attract them. And that's very much tied in to your offer. So if I am looking at what will attract them, so I might turn around and let's say I run a, off the top of my head, a anti-bullying program for children aged 10 to 14. When I target the community, I want to speak to those moms, okay? I want to let them know about the possible dangers that their children in their teenage years are facing. If I decide I want to run a workshop for university students for, I don't know, let's say it is girls who have left home for the first time, they've gone all the way from Joburg to Stellenbosch, they're in a varsity, they don't know the environment, and I'm now going to do maybe like an anti-rape and a self-defense program for them. I need to know what will attract them. So I need to start speaking their language on everything that I do. I need to start saying things like, at varsity for the first time, etc., check out this awesome program. And here's a cool offer I've put together just for you because you're a varsity student. Okay. Is it making sense so far? And then lastly, where? In other words, where are my leads hanging out? Somebody who wants to go more in a tactical route, those leads are going to be on a certain place, no matter which platform, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter. They're going to be hanging out in certain areas. I can even go in the total opposite direction and say, hey, maybe I'll offer a photography course, okay? So what I do is I go onto Facebook and I start searching those groups where people hang out, where people are asking questions like what type of lenses should they use on a camera, and I start offering advice. Why? Because I know where my ideal client is actually hanging out, and I go and I find them there. Then lastly, what you need to look at is, make sure I'm using the red one, sales, okay? Because that's the point of it at the end of the day. I mean, my wife and I, we're very passionate. To give you a bit of background, my daughter was 8 years old in grade 1 in a public school, and she was bullied every single day. She used to come home crying that she didn't want to go to school eventually. And as every parent would, what did I do? I absolutely overreacted. I marched into the school. I gave the principal a piece of my mind. I gave her class teacher a piece of my mind, because understand that before that, I was telling her to go to that class teacher and actually tell them what is happening, which she did, and no one did anything about it. And it got so bad that eventually that boy was going and hitting her head into a wall. Okay, for an 8-year-old in grade 1, someone who's older. I went and I gave that boy a piece of my, I did everything that a responsible parent shouldn't do. And this is not an excuse, but maybe an explanation is I just saw red. You know, when it comes to my family, when it comes to my children, I see red when something like that happens. But at the end of the day, that is where our passion as a family was born. Never mind for us as parents wanting to protect our children and equip them with skills so that they can defend themselves and at least get away from that danger, but for us also as parents. So that's where the passion started, and we've been growing it ever since. We've been involved with it ever since, and we decided the more people we can get this out to, you know what, even if it saves one child like my daughter or saves one woman, and I mean, we deal with a lot of women who have been through extremely bad traumas. So the more we just found that the more we could get it out there, the more we could share this knowledge, the more we could impart that knowledge on people, the better it would be for them at the end of the day. But understand also, a dojo is a tricky thing. It costs a lot of money to maintain. There's equipment, there's overheads, there's rent, there's utilities, the list goes on, you know. Just when you think you're catching up, then you realize, oh man, now I need to replace 2 or 3 mats. And it becomes quite a costly exercise. So wherever you're giving that knowledge out, wherever you're teaching people about something that you are passionate about, and it doesn't need to be self-defense, it can be, you know, karate, BJJ, the list goes on. It's all about actually monetizing it, getting sales in. So once you've taken this strategy and you started targeting your actual leads, the who, what, and where of your leads, you now need to start looking at sales. So number 1 is convert. So let's say I take this and I offer, say, a free self-defense workshop for women. I get 60 people to that workshop, and out of those 60 people, let's say I convert 12 people as members. I know that when 60 people come to a workshop like that, I've had at least 120 people that have shared their email, telephone numbers, all of that with me. So I know I can retarget to them, okay? So not only am I going for those 12 members, I'm now going to retarget the other people that are there. And I could turn around and say, right, I've got 12 members out of it. Now I could go and say, what various workshops am I able to offer? So once-off workshops for those who don't want to commit to a monthly thing. And I mean, you always look at your solutions here and you tie them in. The point is this, is that you are continuously tying it into what their problem is and the solution that you offer. But very often, what do? We stop there. We get a few members in and we say, well, that's kind of where my job ends. And here's the reality when it comes to point number 2, follow up. This is where 80% of monetizing your dojo sits. We get all these leads in, okay, people who we targeted specifically. Then what do? Tuesday night, we're back at class with our 12 new members and we sit with them. But there are so many ways that you can follow up with those people who have come through your full pipeline to give you those 12 new members. Because for 100 people that is sitting there that didn't sign up, they could be interested in workshops. They could be interested in various offerings that you have. But if you are not following up, you are never going to see that return on investment. So follow up is where we call it the FU money. It's where 80% of your money lies in your dojo. Yet this is where we stop. And then lastly, consistency. Okay, so what do I mean by consistency? Is going back the whole time and repeating and refining that process. So now you must probably sitting there saying, well, Dwayne, that's cool and all, but I mean, this is a lot of work. What's the point of that? I've tried boosting posts on Facebook. I've tried posting in community groups. I've tried all of that stuff. So let me show you what this has done for us. And I'll give you a good example. Let me actually take this off quickly, just the top part, okay? There we go. That's clean enough. Sure, it doesn't need to be cleaner than that. You're still following me. So what has this done for us? Number one, we've been able to run ads on platforms like Facebook. So let me give you an example. The one ad that we ran, we got 100, if I remember correctly, I think it was about 160 leads, okay, because we had refined our strategy. We had refined who our leads were, where they hang out, and what would attract them. And out of those leads, our first campaign, if I remember correctly, we only got 8 members. Now, 8 members, it doesn't amount to much. I mean, if your club is running at, say, 400 Rand per member, you're only looking at a 3,200 Rand that you are making there, but it's every month going on. The ad that we ran cost us 1,600 Rand. So already there, we were getting a return on investment. What we found, though, was out of the 160 leads that we got in to a workshop, okay, at the workshop, there was a total of about 120 people. We actually found that was too much for us at the time because, I mean, we were brand new then. We didn't have any additional instructors. We were doing everything on our own. And I'm sure we could have converted a lot more. For the next workshop that we ran, same principle, we actually only got 80 leads in, of which about 60 people rocked up to the workshop, but we were able to convert into 12 members. So for us, that worked a lot better at the time because we didn't have any additional instructors to help us and to pay attention. So we found the smaller groups were easier to handle. Right now, we can run a workshop easily of 100 people plus, and we've got more than enough people to manage. And our average conversion rate sits at 20%. So for every 100 people, we're converting 20 new members. But here's the power in all of this. And I don't want to bore you with too many facts and figures, is that out of all the leads that are coming in, because not everyone is becoming members, we are able to retarget and remarket with various workshops, anti-abduction, anti-bullying, anti-rape, the list goes on, of once-off workshops for people. So not only are we monetizing by the members, we are also doing things like workshops, and we are monetizing there. So great. So that is basically it. That is the full-on strategy that actually works like a ninja, man. And yes, for dojos and clubs, awesome term to use. So right, so now that you've got my exact strategies that I use and that I implement, you've got one or two choices. You can go implement it yourself, or option number 2 is, if you would like to see how a system like this can work in your dojo and your club, you'll see somewhere below or on the side of your screen, there'll be a little button that says click here or go here to give us some more info, where all you're going to do, it will take you through to a page, give me a bit more info about your club, and book a call with me. In other words, we'll hop on a quick call, 5 to 10 minutes. We're just going to discuss 2 things. Number 1, where you want to grow your club to. Number 2, possible ways that you can actually get there. Because you know what? I fully believe that with our passion, with everything we do, the more people we can teach, the more we can get it out there, and especially then the more we can monetize it, so that we fill our own cups first so that we can offer it to more people, the better it will be. Maybe it saves a life one day. So awesome. So find that button, book a strat call with me, and here's the best thing. I'm not even going to try and sell you anything on that call. I will focus on you only. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. Have an awesome day further. Cheers.